Today's episode of Boxes of Water takes us to Woodbridge, Virginia to meet up with Will from the Sik Psyche channel. You may remember a couple of weeks ago we visited Mike from the Sik Psyche channel, heard his story and saw his tanks. Well, on the same trip, I spent a day with Will to do the same thing with him. Will's another military veteran that's an incredible guy with tons of stories to tell, some of which we couldn't include in this video, and he has some amazing tanks that I can't wait for you to see. But before we meet Will, I've also got to show you one other thing. To be honest, most of you won't care about this, but since I was in Woodbridge, I also stopped by this house to check things out and see how it's looking. Why would I care about this house? Well, it's because this is the house I grew up in. My father built this house in 1976, and I lived there with my parents until 1993. My mother sold the house in the mid-2000s, and I've only been back a few times since. It brings back a lot of memories. Anyway, enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Will Allbrooks. But before I do, I just need to mention, what you don't know, because he didn't talk about it in this video, is 1 week prior to making this video with me, Will had brain surgery. I'm not kidding you, brain surgery. I thought for sure he was going to want to cancel this, but no, the man is a fighter and he's determined. He said, come on in, I'm not going to cancel this for anything. Gotta respect that.
So how you doing? My name is Will and I'm from Sik Psyche. I'm a 22-year Army retired veteran, commo guy by trade. And now that I'm out retired, I am still doing the communications world, doing the same thing. So for me, when I enlisted in the military, originally it was because I was in the Army ROTC. Well, my dad, let me back up. My dad was in the military, so he never finished and retired, and I wanted to be one of the first people in my family that actually did it and retired. When I did ROTC, I loved it, took to it. The structure, I love having structure. That was like a big thing for me, having structure when I'm gonna do things, just an order to things. So I love that part. And you know, when I graduated, I originally enlisted in the Marine Corps because I wanted a challenge, and I loved their dress blues. That was like a statement for me, just being crisp and in fit, looking at the way you look in that uniform. So I was in the delayed entry program, was supposed to ship out May 26, 1999. Unfortunately for me, my graduation date changed to May 26, 1999, which meant my contract was null and void. So when
Your high school graduation.
My high school graduation.
Yeah.
So when I went back to the Marine recruiter, he was one of those guys, he had already met his quota for the next 2 months, wanted me to wait. At the stage I was in my life, I knew if I'd have waited, I probably would have got caught up in something I shouldn't have, or just lost interest in the military and never would have went. So I decided, when he said he wouldn't budge and wanted me to wait, I walked next door to the Army recruiter. I said, how soon can you get me out of here? He said, when do you want to leave? I said, 2 weeks. He said, okay, done. And I literally, 2 weeks to the day, went up, raised my hand again, and I shipped off and haven't looked back since.
Well, and I want to clarify, when you say your graduation was delayed, it wasn't because of failure or anything like that. It was actually weather in North Carolina that delayed it, right?
Oh yeah, it was the first time we had got snow that stayed on the ground a couple of days that caused school closures. So something that I never experienced my whole time in school, during school, high school, elementary, middle school. And so when it happened, it was a shock to everybody. So then when the graduation date changed, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be honest, I was disappointed because I was so geared up and ready to ship out. But you know, life had its own plans, and I would not go against it. If I had to do it all over again, I'd probably do it the same way.
Things happen for a reason.
Exactly, I agree. So this is my 55-gallon tank I have set up in my office right now. It's a grow out tank for some babies that one of my peacocks had. And I also put me a Malawi gar in here. He's right over there in the corner, letting them grow out so he can go upstairs. This tank is 55 gallons. I have crushed shell for my substrate, got my heater, wave maker, and for filtration, I'm using a Fluval 407 for this tank.
You and Mike are both Fluval canister filter guys. I like it.
Oh yeah, I wanted to keep the same filters through all my tanks. That way it's easy to interchange stuff if I have to. Wouldn't have to take all the hoses off. I can easily switch tanks around if I need to.
Well, and it's a great filter too, so
oh, yeah.
You can't go wrong there.
Can't go wrong with that. So this is my 75-gallon tank. It is a grow out tank for what's going to be my wet pet, which is a blue umbi that gets fully grown, grows up to about 28 inches. So I'm really excited to see how he grows out. This tank is also filtered with a Fluval 407. I have 2 wave makers, one at the bottom, one at the top, to make sure I get that tunnel going, to create the tunnel so I get all the waste and everything out of there. Don't get a lot of detritus buildup. So with this tank, I don't only have to do water changes. I do water changes every week, but I tested it out to see how long I can go. And I can actually go a month in this tank before my nitrate levels get up over 20 parts per million. I've actually done 6 deployments for a total of 8 years, 3 months being deployed. One of my deployments ended up being a 3-year tour in Afghanistan. It was by choice, but I loved the job I was doing. So if I look back, just one of those situations, I would do it all over again. My first deployment was in 03 to 04. I did 4 rotations to Iraq, 03 to 04, 05 to 06, 06 to 08, and then January 09 to December 09. I still remember to this day where I was when, like you said, the big event that happened, 9/11. I was actually standing in line to draw my weapons at the range, to go to the range. And we got the call that, they called down, put all weapons back. And I was working in the battalion headquarters at the time, and I got told to come back up there immediately. So I went back. We found out what had happened, that an airplane had hit the towers, and we was putting everything on lockdown, from the base to the battalions to each individual headquarters. We were standing up guards at our buildings because nobody knew what was more to come. Me being a calm guy, and I was the battalion sergeant major driver, he immediately told me, they gave me the government purchase card, and they said, we need a satellite dish and we need it up in the next hour. So I immediately ran down to Best Buy, came back, had never set one up before. Me and my partner, we got up there and we had the full services up within an hour and a half, where we had all news and everything, where we had all the stations up. And basically life took over from there. It was a deployment after deployment to where I started to love deployments. I loved being deployed more than I did love being back in the States, because it was just the feeling of being out there. Everybody took care of everybody. It wasn't the normal hustle and bustle of being back in the rear of doing details and all. We had a purpose out there of what we were doing. I was in a signal unit, so we provided the comms in the area we was in, so all the actual fighters and door kickers could talk to and accomplish their missions. We're gonna move over here to my 125 Mbuna tank. This is kind of like my centerpiece. So when you first walk down the basement, this is the first thing everybody sees. I like this. Mike and we actually rescaped this whole tank because I had a lot of the fake driftwood in here, and I didn't know about the Texas Holy Rock, because I had the problem of all my babies that was being born were dying real quick. They were getting ate by the other fish. They had nowhere to hide. Mike told me about the Texas Holy Rock, so we completely gutted this tank, rescaped it, took out some of the crushed shell, and we added some sand to it because they like to move it around. As you can see, they've moved everything to this right side over here, and this tank has flourished since then. This tank is being filtered by Fluval FX6, and I'm also got a Tidal 110 that's coming in for it, just for that extra polishing on the top that I want to go with it. And it actually has about, at last count, I was at 43 fish, but I just saw some more babies in here. I counted 3 of them that I was able to actually see. So I'm just excited about where this is going to go. And we have a upcoming project where we're going to move these to a 150 and combine mine and Mike's tank. So that's a project down the road that we're excited about working on and showing everybody.
Now let me ask you this, because the answer to this is going to determine whether I walk out that front door or not right now. Where'd you order that Tidal from?
So the Tidal, I actually got it on Amazon.
Okay.
And that's only because...
This is a cut. We're done.
And I ordered it on Amazon because I needed to get it quick. And when I went on the Fluval site, it said look up resellers in this area, and I didn't find any. But
Well, that's a Seachem though, not a flu. So did you order the fluval or the Seachem?
no, it was the Seachem. I ordered the Seachem, but when I went on their site, there's no resellers in this local area where I'm at.
Gotcha.
And I wanted to get it quick. So I went to Amazon, but then I did some research and I actually found your page.
I was going to say, I got a website I could talk to you about.
So to be honest, I just found your page when I got out of the hospital and I was sitting here, had nothing but time to sit on the computer, found your page before Mike ever reached out to you.
Okay.
And I was telling Mike, hey, I found this new page we can go to. And that's when he said, hey, I just actually reached out to him. So we might be setting something up in the future. So it was funny that happened that way because I found your page looking for the actual title.
Well, as long as you don't do it again, we can still be friends.
Oh, no worries at all.
Now, spending that much time deployed and 22-year career in the Army,
Yes.
You said? At what point do you find these glass boxes full of water?
So I've always had fish tank in my house. Growing up, when I was growing up as a kid, my mom, we always I've always loved animals, but we've always had a fish tank to where we always had goldfish or mollies and tetras and stuff like that. But I was always the lucky one that took care of the fish. And the fish for me became my place of relaxation. Like I would love to sit down in the room where the fish tank was, because I'm an avid reader. I read any kind of books, any and everything that could come up. And I would always read sitting beside the fish tank because I love to hear the water from the filter running in. It was actually relaxing for me. I'm one of those people where my mind is always running 1,000 miles, what they say, 1,000 miles a minute. Mm-hmm. I'm always thinking and overthinking things. So I could actually sit near the fish tank and calm down. And then as far as my deployments and all, I won't say I have PTSD, but I've been diagnosed with PTSD-like symptoms because I've never actually sat down with a psychiatrist or anything to be diagnosed for PTSD. So I came to a point where I couldn't stand to be around crowds. I couldn't stand loud noises like kids yelling and being loud, where I noticed I would get aggressive and I always reverted back to my room where my fish tank was because that calming water, the sound of the water would always relax me. And that's how I realized, that's when I started to realize that I had issues that even though I still didn't want to go see a doctor, a specialist to get taken care of, because when I came up in the military back in the early 2000s, it was frowned upon for having issues like that. So it's something that stuck with me, not that it's good, not that it's bad, it just stuck with me. So I knew I had to find other ways and outlets to keep calm and deal with my internal issues that I refused to talk to other people about. So that's how I really got into the fish tanks. And once I moved up here got stationed at the Pentagon, and I went through a real bad divorce where it just went long over time, and I by myself a lot. And then that's how my love for the hobby grew, because I had time to actually do a little more than just going in PetSmart picking out a fish, where I found a local fish store that I could buy different fish that I'd never in my life seen before. And that's how the hobby really took off and grew back in February of 2018. So this is my 55-gallon grow-out tank. I ended up going to my local fish store, KGTropicals, and I saw these Vieja Fenestradas, and I just fell in love with the color pattern in them. So I bought all 4, and I wanted to see how they grow out. This 55-gallon tank has a wave maker on it, and of course another Fluval 407 for my filtration. Nice. And at the time when I had this tank set up, I already had the crushed shell in there, so I just left it in there. Even though these fish are better with the sand, I'm gonna change it out as they grow older. I just wanted to see how they grew and colored up before I move one of them. Whichever one I keep is gonna go into my 250-gallon tank with my Central and South American tank.
Now you said something that I thought was adorable earlier, and I wonder if it was the same here. You said that there was a particular, I think it was crabs or something that you bought, and they had 4 at the store. You only wanted 3, but you didn't want to leave one there by himself, so you bought all 4. Did you do the same thing with this?
So that's what happened with this, because they were all 4 together, and they were the last 4 in the bunch. And I wanted to get 3 for some reason. 3 is my lucky number when I go into a store that I want to buy fish, because I figure 1 out of the 3 is going to grow to the way I like. and I didn't want to leave the last one by itself, so I took all 4, and that's how I got 4 of them. So I'm gonna keep one, Mike's gonna get one, and then we're gonna donate the other 2 back to the local fish store so they can rehome them to a good home.
All right, that's very cute. And I don't normally say that to other men, but that's adorable.
So now we'll move over to my other 55-gallon. This is my flower horn tank. It is also filtered by a Fluval 407 with a wave maker in it to move everything around. This is the, if I remember correctly, it's a Kaffma flower horn. So it's a female. We had a male in here with her, and as they grew up together, but once they got up to about this size, the female decided to take out the male. She didn't actually take him out, but she beat him up real bad. I put him in a quarantine, nursed him back, put a divider in here, and she hopped the divider to get back to him and beat him up some more. So I ended up taking that flower horn, rehoming him to Mike's house, and Mike is growing him out. He's already nursed him back to good health. He gained his color back, and he's already growing and living a good life over there with Mike. So she's gonna stay by herself for now and end up moving up to my office once I get rid of the timer which babies I'm gonna keep and get rid of the rest of them. When I moved up here and got all my household goods, got them situated, and I decided to set my tank back up, I set it up, went through what I thought was a cycle that I didn't know was not a cycle. Because to me, originally when I set up a tank, a cycle was I added my tap water, I put my top fin chlorinator in there, dechlorinator, I waited 20 minutes, and then I dropped fish in.
Of course.
I didn't even put bags in there and let the fish acclimate. I just dropped the fish. I didn't even take them out the bag. I dumped water and everything in. So it was two-part thing. First was I had my tank, bought the fish. I went in there and I saw this orange fish and I was like, oh, want that one. Didn't even look at what the name of the fish was. I just told the guy I want that fish. I got 2 now that I know they were Oscars. One was albino Oscar and one was my tiger Oscar. Put them in there, put them in the tank. They were good. And came home one day and I was like, I want to add some more fish. Went back to PetSmart, got some mollies, and I threw them in the tank. The rest of that night, they was good. I go to work, come back home the next day. I had 5 mollies in there. 4 were gone and 1 was in the Oscar's mouth. And I walk up to the tank and he just comes up with the tail sticking out and he just shakes his head. And I'm looking like, what are you trying to say? Something wrong? Is it stuck? And I'm literally talking to him that way. And I'm like, is it stuck? And he just shakes his head no. And I was like, uh-oh, I think I did something wrong. So I got on the computer, looked up Oscar. What is an Oscar? And I started reading, what does an Oscar eat? And
everything.
It showed pellets and it showed flakes and then it said live fish. And then it had an excerpt in there that said, if the fish can fit in the Oscar's mouth, it will eat it. And I was like, wow. So that was the first thing that made me like, I got to start researching what fish I have, what I can put together. And I had a 33-gallon tank and I bought a 55-gallon because I was like, I need to separate these Oscars from the other fish so that way I can figure it out. And then my mom, she had a 15-gallon tank because she was staying with me at the time. And I got the fish from PetSmart. She picked out her fish that she wanted, dumped the water in there, everything in there, and about a week later, infested with snails.
Oh boy.
So when I started doing the research, like we didn't buy any snails. I didn't know that snail babies, when they're born, they're clear.
Yep.
They blend in with the water, so you can't even tell they're in there. And her had an infestation. When I mean an infestation, when you come up to the tank, they covered the whole glass. You couldn't see in the tank because the snails just took over. And I was like, so those were the 2 triggers that triggered me into researching what fish I have, what are they compatible with, and that's how I learned the difference of what's a Central American fish, what's a South American, as far as the African cichlids, I thought it was just African cichlids. They're all just African cichlids. Didn't know about mbunas, haps, peacocks, Lake Victorian, Lake Tanganyika. Didn't know all that. So that opened my eyes. And then Mike did a lot of research. And when I started saying, hey, Mike, I got this fish, he was like, that's this type of fish. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So that made me, and because I love to read, that made me start getting books and finding more articles and sites I could read more on. Now we're moving to the best room.
Yeah, this was only the beginning. Now we get to the real deal.
So we'll start here. This is the latest tank I've set up recently within the past 4 months. This is a Lake Tanganyika tank with frontosas and a couple of my trophius fish in here also. This tank is filtered by a Fluval FX6 along with a Tidal 110 that I recently just put on there to help get some of the fine filtering in here. I also added a bubble stone because I noticed with a little more oxygen in these bigger tanks, it helps with the clarity of the water and the fish are growing better. I did a little bit of lace rock in here just to give them some little hideout spots. And I put a piece of driftwood in here. It was one, I had to put the rocks on there to hold it down because one that I didn't get to treat for a long time. So I put them in there to hold it down, and we're just gonna see how it goes.
How many frontosas do you have in there?
I have five adult ones, and I have 4 babies in there that are growing out right now. I put the 6-stripe babies. I bought all 6-stripe babies.
Okay. I love them.
So
I'm a sucker for frontosas.
So these frontosas will actually be getting moved. That's the part of the project. They will actually get moved to the 125 as their forever home. And this is the tank that we're gonna move all the mbunas to and create a nice aquascape for them and let them have at it. So the purpose of the channel is, of course, Sik is for the cichlids. You know, we went off the red tiger motor, actually. No, I'm sorry, the German red.
Okay.
Peacock is actually our emblem, the fish that's in our actual logo. And the Psyche part is not really about, because you know, a lot of people, when you hear Psyche, you're thinking a psychiatrist want to talk to you and get into your mental health. But the Psyche part is of a place of internal balance for you, for your relaxation or your peace of mind, your peace. Because something I've realized since I've retired is that peace is priceless. So that's something I refuse to ever give up, which means even if I have to only go down to 1 tank, I will always have a tank because that allows me, that's an outlet for me to get my peace. And that's what we wanted to touch on, is to show people that there are other things other than having a dog, having a cat, because people have fear of dogs or allergies to dogs, allergies to cats or other animals, or some people don't like to actually voice their incapabilities of being able to talk in groups or talk to people, that there are other things that can give you that same peace and relaxation that you can relate it to almost anything in the world. I know I have friends that work on cars as their peace, their therapy. Some people, I do the fish because the fish allow me to still be home with my family, but also enjoy my hobby, and I can share it with other people that might, you never know. A lot of people don't know what you like until you experience it. And that's what the fish did to me. Now we're gonna move over to my 150-gallon tank. This is my Haps and peacock tank. So these are some of the first fish I started out with when I first got into the hobby, when I wanted to really learn about the fish and actually go with the most colorful, which ended up being the cichlids. So this tank is filtered by an FX6 along with a Tidal 110 as well. And I also put a bubble stone in there to help give me some more oxygen in this tank. These are probably some of the fish that I've had the longest. Some of the bigger ones I've had the longest because this, like I said, these are the ones that started out in the 55-gallon tank and have moved around till they've made it to this 150-gallon.
We've got a little bit of everything in here. We've got peacocks, haps, and mbunas, which I love because I love when people ridicule me online for mixing all 3. But hey, listen, it works. They're all 3 doing well, and it just proves you can break the rules.
Yeah, so I actually tried to take all the mbunas out, but these last couple that I left in there, they were doing so well that I didn't want to actually interrupt how calm and peaceful the tank was. So I left them in there and they've been doing great. So I just refused to add any more mbunas to it because the tank is peaceful the way it is now. Well,
and red zebras are known for being troublemakers. So, you know, you put them in your mbuna tank, they'll just cause trouble anyway. So leave them in here, we're good. There they both are right there.
Now we're gonna move over to my 125. This is Aquascape tank, and it has, I call it my severum tank, but it actually has the triangle fish in here. that has my electric blue acaras along with some geophagus in here. So this tank used to have the crabs in it that we spoke about earlier, and the crabs got behind this aquascape and disappeared. I haven't seen them anymore. Had 7 crabs in there, found one about 2 months ago that just showed up out of the blue. Don't know where he came from, but obviously he climbed out. And the rest of them are, hopefully they're still in there, and maybe they'll come out one day, but we shall see.
And the thing with the plants and the really fancy background and all this, that was originally going to be for a reptile from the guy you bought it from, right?
Yes, correct. He originally was going to do this as a lizard tank, but then once he did all the aquascaping and looked at everything, did the research on his actual lizard, he realized the tank was going to be too small for the lizard. It was going to outgrow it within a matter of months versus years. So he decided to sell it. My local fish store owner, he put me in contact with the guy because the guy was actually buying a bigger tank from him. So he put me on to him, and I got it for a great deal. The way the full setup is, it was originally set up as a sump, but because I've never dealt with sumps before, I was having so many issues, I decided to cap it off and turn it into an actual filtered tank with a canister filter.
Nice.
And it's been doing great ever since.
That's an FX6 on there?
Yes, it's oh yeah, this tank has an FX6 on it as well with the bubble stone, and it's just been doing great. I actually using the actual sump return valves that he already had, and I piped it through the FX6, and that's how the water is returning back into the tank.
Beautiful. I mean, I guess that really all that's left for me to say is I have the highest level of respect possible for what you've done, what Mike has done, and what you're doing. And I'm just going to repeat it again. If there's anything I can do to help you all in your quest, definitely let me know. Because I get to walk around all day, every day, making silly videos about boxes full of water. And it's people like you and Mike and Bill Mason that provide me with the ability to be able to do that. And I will never not have the highest level of respect for that possible. So thank you for letting me come here and see all of this and telling your story. And thank you for doing what you're doing.
You're more than welcome. And we greatly appreciate you even taking the time to come down, because for us, in order to get the awareness out there, we love networking with other people that have similar interests, or just in the business period, or not in the business, where we can actually put it out there and share it all kind of ways, as many ways as we can.
Well, and I have to throw the same thing back at you. If you have a full-time job, you got a busy life, and Mike is super busy. If y'all run into somebody that could use my help, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I mean, especially if they're around here. Good Lord, I can be up here in no time at all. Call me in the morning, I can be here early afternoon. So I would love to be able to offer that up to you. So, but anyway, today is football Sunday, so I guess it's time for me to leave you alone so you can watch some football. Your Panthers are playing.
Oh yeah, we gotta get the Panthers. Go Panthers. And now we're gonna move to my last and my largest tank. This is my 250-gallon Central and South American tank. This tank started out as a project because I had a lot of aggressive fish that I really wanted to see if they could actually live together. So I have Oscars, I have 3 Jack Dempseys, a couple of Texas cichlids, I have an electric blue Texas, I have an iridescent shark, a Cuban cichlid, some angelfish, along with some Salvinis, as well as a black belt and a red tiger motor. So the red tiger motor and the black belt were rehomes from Mike's house because they were having issues. He was having aggression issues in his tank, which that's why it's great that we run the same type of tanks, filters and everything, because we can, instead of having to get rid of so many fish, we can just move them to the other person's house to rehome them and see how it goes before we have to get rid of them as a last resort.
This is beautiful. And this, it looks like you got 3 canisters up there, judging by the amount of hoses you got.
Yeah, so right now this tank is filtered by, it's crazy, it's an FX2, an FX4, and an FX6. So I started out with an FX6, came across a great deal that I couldn't pass up on an FX4, I got it. So I put 2 on there. And then after looking at Mike's 210 that had 3 filters on it, the growth of his fish being over filtered, it inspired me to grab another tank, another filter. And I went to PetSmart and walked in, and they had all 50% off sale. All they had left was FX2s, so I scooped it up real quick. Never can pass up a sale. Put it on here, and it's been doing great. So my FX2 is nothing but matrix. It's filled with matrix only, just for that filter for the filtration. My FX6 and my FX4, they have matrix along with Chemi Pure Blue on them that I change out every 3 months on those. And eventually I'm gonna go with the FX2 as being all chemical, and the FX4 and the FX6 being just all biofiltration. So that way I'm only opening up one filter every couple months rather than 2 of them.
I like it. It's a good strategy. You and Mike are both hardcore overfiltration specialists, and I love it because I've always preached, I mean, if you want your tanks to look this good, stick some serious filtration on there. Makes your life easier. Yeah, it costs more, but makes your life easier. You don't have to maintain them as much, and your tanks look that good. I don't like doing these videos without having something to give to you guys. Thank you for coming here. I wanted to do this to both of you at the same time. The first thing, this one is actually perfect. You don't know it, but you went there to get this with me yesterday. I had called Dave, and because I knew you guys, I saw it in your videos, wanting to know if he wanted to get involved. This is the owner of KGTropicals in Dale City, Virginia, and he absolutely wanted to get involved. So what he's done is issued both of you guys a $100 gift card.
Oh man, that's awesome.
To KGTropicals. It took zero convincing on his part. I said, it's Mike and Will, the Sik Psyche guys. He said, stop by, I got you. So
yeah, we appreciate that.
that's from
Greatly
him.
appreciate
and
it.
where this gets a little bit more complicated is there's another gift card, but it's from somebody that until a couple days ago you didn't even know, and that's me.
Oh shit.
So you all weren't even aware that you could get what you could get from my store. But having been to both of y'all's places and seen the food that you feed and the filters that you use and all of that kind of stuff, whether it's extreme, you said you wanted to try Northfin. I don't know if you've ever tried Northfin. We have all of that. We've got the Seachem filters, all of it. We sell a lot of plants too, but y'all aren't interested in feeding those to your fish. We're going to give you, both of you guys, $150 each gift cards. Those actually get sent to you by way of email. So I don't have anything to physically give you, but you'll get an email that'll get a code. You type that in, $150 for each of you. Wow. But that's not the big one. See, this one I had to get some advice from somebody else. I talked to our mutual friend, Troy Holler from Cichlid Bros. Yeah. Because I called him and I said, Troy, I don't know these guys. Like, they could walk up to me right now. I wouldn't even know it's them. And I said, can you tell me anything that they need or they could want? And he was like, no. I mean, their tanks look great. They're good at what they do. They got themselves well set up. And he said, but they did, both of them, express an interest in someday possibly buying a tank from Custom Aquariums.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got on the phone with my guy at Custom Aquariums. Now, I can't give all the details on video because my guy made me promise, but I'll tell you off camera. When you guys are ready to buy from Custom Aquariums, they're going to give you a discount that you will not even believe.
That's crazy.
It doesn't have to be a certain minimum size. Again, I'll tell you off camera how much it is, and then you can start drooling. But it's, you know, the bigger the tank is, the bigger the discounts they'll be able to do because there's more room in them. But he said absolutely they'll work that out with you, both of you. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's both of you. When you're ready, you got a discount there. So, and neither of you own any Custom Aquariums tanks, but I'm going to tell you the tanks that you have are great. You've got the Marine Lands and the Aquions, and they're all fantastic, but there's nothing like a Custom Aquariums tank.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And we were, waiting for the moment to look at buying our tank from them. So it was something we were looking into.
And I was literally on their site this morning because...
Were you?
Yeah, because like I said, I'm planning to move, and get ready to go all a certain size and on all my tanks, make them all symmetrical. And I was looking at them this morning.
Well, and you probably got a little sticker shock because, I mean, listen, a custom aquarium, whether it's from the company Custom Aquariums or any company, you know, they're more expensive than the Aquariums and stuff, the store-bought stuff. But come to my place and you'll see them. What you get for that money is far superior, and they're guaranteed for life. So, you know, you can't do any better. I've been to their facility. I don't think anybody makes a finer aquarium than those guys.
Wow.
So, and the cool thing is, when you do get that new place, if you find that perfect spot, but you're like, oh man, it's not 72 inches, it's 79, well, they'll make it exactly the size that you want.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's the way of the future, man.
That is awesome.
I'm gonna turn the camera off now, and then I'm gonna tell them what the discount is.
Well, before you turn it off, we wanted to give you as a token for coming out. We have our Sik Psyche cups that we had made.
I love it.
This was one of the trial ones because we really didn't know how the emblem was going to come out on the cup. And when I got it, we was blown away. Mike loved it. And so we went ahead and made the purchase. So that way, when we do stuff like this or we go visit people, we wanted to have something to show a little token of our appreciation for even having us or doing something with us.
Awesome.
But this is...
I appreciate it very much. They're very cool. That is... I'm kind of jealous of the logo. I'm not going to lie to you. It looks really good. I absolutely love it. That's amazing. Thank you.
We appreciate it. And thank you, seriously, John.
No, hey, we're all doing each other favors here, so we're all thanking each other. That's fine. You don't have to thank me though. But no, this has been great. I appreciate you all having me.
Thank you.